This is Maritime Radio.
I'm Bethany, and you are listening to the monthly Millwall Fans News and Views show, broadcasting live on Maritime Radio on 96.5 FM and on the Maritime website.
Welcome to our monthly Millwall News and Views show at Maritime Radio. I'm George Lampey, your host from Swanley, and I'm thrilled to introduce our fantastic panel. The dynamic duo from Bexley, Ted Robinson and Patricia Maslin, even they're laughing at that, along with the ever-enthusiastic Stan Godwin from Thamesmead. These individuals are not just lifelong Millwall supporters, they bring a wealth of experience in football broadcasting spanning both region and national radio, as well as some fantastic podcasts. As always, we dive into the Millwall Plus. We are excited to chat with a former Lion who represented his country. To kick off things, let's take a look back at the results from March, except for Palace, because we reviewed that game on the last show. So, Stan, let's start with early March, when we played Bristol City.
Well, yeah, Bristol City, I mean, it was always going to be a difficult game because you're playing a Bristol City team that are normally a good side anyway. And because and their coach, whose name escapes me for the moment, he's very much into the passing game. So you always knew it was going to be difficult and you was always going to have to be chasing the ball when we couldn't afford to give it away. And unfortunately, on the night, they were the better team without any question of it. And you know, and they made their possession count. We just couldn't. We huffed and puffed, but we never got there. And you know, and right at the very end they scored, and you know, and that was it. So you know, it was free. It was a disappointing performance. Really, we should have played a lot better, and we didn't, and we paid the price for it.
And then we went on to Watford. Pat, we lost that game. No, we won that game. Gosh, I can't believe it, yeah. You couldn't make it up, could you?
Yeah, it's the old cliche, isn't it? A game of two halves. We were dire the first half. Watford deserved their 1-0 lead. They played Honeyman on the right wing to deal with Chedovetsa, which he done really well all game. I do think Honeyman's a good player. He gets a lot of stick, but he's playing out of position. He's a holding midfielder, and he never seems to play there. But he done really well that day. Second half, I fully expected a change in the team because we were so dire. But Neil didn't change the team up. We came out, and we was a different side. I don't know what he said to them, but we were really good second half. Josh Colburn, he seemed a bit isolated, but he really picked up second half, and that was a beautiful winning goal from him, that looping header. After that really poor 45 minutes to start with, it turned into a really good game, and lucky for us, we come away with the 3 points.
Yeah, that was a good win, actually, yeah. And that was, as you said, a smashing header. Then we went to middle of sort of March way, and we went to Leeds, which... that was a difficult game, wasn't it, with them being one of the top teams in the league? And you were there, Ted, on that.
I was. I did go up there. I mean, Leeds are a good side. I mean, they're falling a little bit at the moment, but at that particular time they needed a win and they came out. But I must say something, we was the best side for the first 3 minutes. We came out pretty well as it goes. And I watched Leeds against Portsmouth on the Sunday before the game, and they had no luck in front of goal whatsoever. Then, lo and behold, what happens on the 3rd minute? Cross comes over, it's Jay Cooper in the back of the net, we're 1-0 down. And a place in this championship you don't want to be 1-0 down at early doors is Leeds United, because with their backing with the fans and whatever, it raises them. It certainly raised their game. But we stuck in it and we kept going, and had one or two little opportunities against them to maybe nick a draw out of it, and then they finished us off with a tremendous goal from Tanaka or something, his name, some name like that. But anyway, it was a terrific goal, and Yeah, I wasn't surprised, and I still expect Leeds to be fighting right at the very end for one of the positions in the top two. I think I worry for them though, because if they don't get in that top two, I'm not sure they're going to win the playoffs. But it may be a Millwall sneaking up on the inside of the rails that make it in the playoffs. That'll frighten the life out of Leeds.
I mean, the one thing Leeds wouldn't want to do is get in the playoffs, would it? After what's happened to them over recent seasons,
they're a big club under a lot of pressure. George, they just about got a draw today with Luton. Luton give them a bit of a running around at times today. I see a bit of that before our game. But we've done it to them already twice this season. We've done it at the Den and we've done it in the FA Cup. And we wasn't far off of it in this particular game. But they got that early goal which settled them right down. I said before the game, we needed to be 0-0 for about 20 minutes and then they would be under pressure. But unfortunately, they got a lucky own goal off of Jay Cooper. But there you go. It was to be expected, I suppose, the 2-0 loss.
And it would have been a late night for you, Ted, getting back from Leeds?
Well, seeing I got detoured around, I think I met Robin Hood in Sherwood Forest at one point, going around Nottingham. It was a long old journey back, George. Yeah, thanks. Thanks for reminding me.
And then we went on to Stoke, which for us was another win, Stan.
Yeah, it was, and you know, any team that's managed by Mark Robins, you know you're going to be in for a tough battle.
He's a good manager.
Yeah, one of the best. I mean, I'm surprised actually Coventry got rid of him, but there we are. But no, it was a tough game, and you know, and I just thought to myself, the longer the game went, and we played okay, we did all right, and you know, because against teams like Stoke and any, you can't just sit back. You got to keep at it, or you got to be on the front foot all the time, and we were doing that. But equally, so were they. So it was always going to be a difficult game. And, you know, I always took the view if anybody scored, then it was only going to be the one goal that would do it. And then, you know, right at the very end, it was bizarre because where I sit, which is at the Coldblow Lane end, and because the goal, we got the penalty down the other end, I mean, all I just see was a mob of players going for the ball. And the next thing I then saw was the referee pointing. And I just thought at first he was pointing for a goal kick. And even to this day, I still have not seen what actually happened to give us the penalty. Because when we got the penalty, you thought, so well, if he puts it away now, then it's game over. And he put it away nicely, and you know, and it was. But as I say, I know I've read, and you would expect it, but people claiming that, you know, well, it weren't a penalty, it wasn't all this. But whether it was or not, I don't know, because I've still not seen it, so I don't know. But anyway, we won, and that was it. We got back on track.
It was a great penalty, wasn't it, boys? Girls?
Yeah, well, I had no idea who was going to take it, I've got to be honest. But at the time, when it was Coburn got pulled down, Stan, that's what happened. And we was all wondering who the hell was going to take it.
It weren't going to be Coburn.
Yeah, exactly. But Ivanovic is definitely, I think, after taking that, looks like he's our penalty taker.
Yeah, I would certainly say that, yeah. I mean, he really has got a goal in him, that boy, hasn't he?
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
I mean, in all different types of goals from what I've seen so far.
Oh, he's a good player, no doubt about that.
And then we move along, we go to Sunderland now. It seems like Ted does all the long away trips.
Yeah,
that was you again, Ted.
Reporter by the looks of it. Yeah. And I must...
Token Northerner.
I'll tell you what, I must admit, that was the coldest place I've ever been. It was whistling around it. It was a lovely sunny day, but the wind was blowing, and they put you in the top of the stand, and I think they make sure the wind blows up that way. I don't know, but it was freezing cold. But I didn't think it was a bad performance actually at Sunderland. I thought we was unusual for us to get done by a set piece from a corner where the guy was left all on his own and couldn't foul but score. And then Jensen made one or two really good saves up there. It was a poor penalty, but he made a fantastic save from an header from a guy. But we was always in the game. We was always, you could tell the Sunderland, the Sunderland fans themselves were nervous. You could see that. And then right at the very end, I thought Ivanovic, unfortunately, didn't control the ball at the time when we had probably our best chance of the game. And I don't think a 1-1 draw wouldn't have been a bad result or an unfair result for the way that we played, because we played some nice football up until the last third. It was the last third that didn't really work for us again at that time. But It was a decent performance, and it shows where we're going. That's what I thought about Sunderland. It shows to me the style of play that Alex Neil wants to play, which was stand to be pleased. A bit of passing around here, no lumping it as such. It was a bit of passing on the floor, and I mean, Sunderland are up there. They'll be in the playoffs. I'm not sure they're going to be good enough to win the playoffs if they play like that, but. You know, it might be us in the playoffs. Yeah, I keep saying that.
The object for them is to be in the top two, I think, not end up in the playoffs.
They won't get top two now, Sunderland. It's going to be either Sheffield United, Leeds or Burnley. That's the three that are fighting for it. Sunderland are pretty safe in the middle of the playoffs and will be in the playoffs. And then it could be any one or two from there down, I think. You've got West Brom, Coventry. And we are in a position with 6 games to go? Yeah. A late run, who knows? Yeah. I mean, if we was to actually go to Sheffield United and nick a win there, it could all be on. But there you go.
Yeah, I've had Pat telling me that all day.
Well, if we'd won at Sunderland, we'd have been 3 points off the playoff.
We would have been. Yeah.
Right, so then we come to today against Portsmouth, which I'm going to let you all have your say on, and we're going to start with Pat, actually.
Oh, thank you. Went back to the 4-4-2 system, which everyone's been calling for. That hasn't actually worked for us, apart from today. Coburn and Ivanovic up front. They don't seem to gel, but I mean, the first half was okay. It was interesting to watch, fairly even. But coming out second half, I mean, I think we started to really gel together. I'd like to see Ivanovic do more outside the box. You know, fair play to him. He's scoring. I think he's won us 13 points this season himself alone with the goals he scored. So you can't moan at him. I'd just like to see a bit more. I enjoyed today. Nice 3 points on the up.
Yeah, and I've paid for your meals.
No wonder she's happy.
Stan, your view on today's game?
Well, I mean, again, it was a good game. I mean, we played well. And Portsmouth, to be fair, are a good side. You're not dealing with no mug team now, and I think they're now safe from relegation anyway. Personally, I don't think they're going to go down, but no, it's a tough old game, and when we took the lead, I thought to myself, well, okay then, but this is it. We'll win the game, even if it was by 1-0. Right? In actual fact, because I sit where I sit, where's the ball come over? I see Ivanovic go for it. But I didn't actually see so he must have got the faintest of touches, because it then went into the net. Not that I'm complaining, but at first I thought he'd missed the thing. And then I thought, oh, well, that's it. And then, it was about 10 minutes later, or whatever it was, and then Portsmouth equalised, and I thought, oh, well, here we go. This is going to be a draw. And I thought, fine. And then right at the last knock-ins, we scored a second goal. And, but the only thing that bothered me was Amaku, right at the very end. He had the ball, he come down, he started messing about with it. And then the next thing, he'd lost the ball, and they're on the attack. And I thought, so if they get an equaliser now, I mean, they're going to go balmy. And he would have been to blame for it, in all fairness. But they didn't, and we won the game. And my view was I thought we deserved to win the game. I didn't think we would. I thought it was going to be a draw, but we got the goal, and that was it. And that's happy.
And I think they thought that at that moment in time also. Yeah, and Teddy, I should imagine you went home as happy as the rest of us.
Honestly, George, that's the most enjoyable game I've had for a long while, because I went all the way up to Portsmouth for that bloody league game, excuse my language, and then 5 minutes before the ground was kick-off, they switched the lights out or something happened to them, and I had to drive all the way back again after standing in the dark for another half hour. So, I think they thought they had it, to be quite honest, Portsmouth. And, fair play to the boys. They picked it up again. And whilst Ivanovic will get all the headlines, I think there's a little note for Casper Denor again. That was a beautiful cross straight onto his head there. And he's been playing really well, Casper, and hopefully it continues. But Ivanovic, I think we've got a gem. I really do. Here's one for the books, a rare moment here. I agree with Pat. He needs to do more outside the box. Outside.
This is a rare moment.
Yeah. Hold on, I'll have to go to the doctor's office. Straight down to Queen Elizabeth office, get myself checked out. But no, he's a young kid. He's come from Serbian football. I keep saying this. He's 21. He's come into Championship football. He scored goals. He's got that knack of being in the right place at the right time. But his all-round game outside, where he needs to be linking the play a bit more, he tends to go missing a little bit. But then when the player's like that and he turns up in the box like he did today and scores 2 goals, who's going to criticise too much? Yeah. But I think 100% right, Pat. He could be better outside the box and in his play, because we're relying a lot on Coburn at the moment, trying to hold the ball up and whatever. And Ivanovic, when he plays in Coburn's position, he doesn't do it enough. But he's young. He's going to get better. He's a Serbian international. You know what I mean? He's making his way into the international senior squad. I'll keep saying it from the word go. From the time we had him, he'll be better next year. And if he is, we've got a right little star on our hands.
So that's a roundup of the month. We're going to take a little maritime break, and we'll be back soon.
What's going on here then? Find out with the Maritime Radio Events Guide at maritimeradio.co.uk. And if you're holding an event, let us know so we can tell everyone. Send us the details. hello@maritimeradio.co.uk.
The new Shrewsbury House Community Garden Cafe. For breakfast from 9, light lunches, afternoon cakes, tea cakes and crumpets for tea. Look out for our Wednesday specials. Shrewsbury House Community Garden Cafe. The place to make new friends and enjoy lovely homemade food.
From Blackheath Common to the O2 Arena. Always with you on 96.5 FM, online and here.
Play Maritime Radio Greenwich.
We are Maritime Radio.
Carl Bennett from the Millwall Community Trust provides an update on the progress of several sides under the MCT umbrella, and we're listening to him now.
Millwall Romans started off the month with a 1-0 defeat against Charlton Valiants. They then followed this up with a 3-2 victory over Stonewall Unity. They ended the month with a 1-0 victory against London Falcons, which confirms their place in the London Unity League Cup final. Millwall Pride were defeated 6-2 against Charlton Addicts at the start of the month. They then beat Stonewall Unity development side 4-0. Following on from this, they confirmed their place in the London Unity League Plate final, beating East End Phoenix 3-0. Millwall Lionesses had a tough 2 first fixtures of the month. They were defeated 5-0 against Fulham in the League Cup semi-final before losing again to the league leaders 7-0 in the league. However, they responded with a 10-0 victory against Haywards Heath, followed by a 2-2 draw against New Haven and a 4-2 defeat from Saltdean, which in a game they probably deserve more from.
Right, welcome back everybody. Let's talk about the Lionesses, Pat. You were just hearing what Kai had to say there.
Yeah, some of them disappointing results, apart from the 10-0 win, obviously. I'd like to see them doing better. I'm not sure where they are in the league. But just to call out that the season doesn't finish with Millwall playing Swansea at the Den. The Lionesses are actually appearing at the Den. That's on the 4th of May. They're going to play Ashford United. And you can get tickets now for £5. So come along, support the girls, and let's cheer them on at the end of the season.
And Pat, for everybody out there, has a rich history with the Lionesses. Over to you, Ted, talking about the Romans.
Yeah, I mean, the boys bounced back, didn't they? That's the best thing I could say, because I know how disappointed they was to lose to Charlton. It's not the game they want to lose, not the game we want to. It doesn't happen very often, does it, us losing to Charlton? But there you go. The Romans did at the start of the month, but they picked themselves up and had 2 good results following that. And I'm hoping they're going to have a real good end to the season, the Romans. They've been a good side for a long while, and they deserve to keep going on and hopefully winning their cup, as well as finishing off well in the league. I'm not sure about their fixtures, who they've got left to play, but they're going well. They're a good side, good bunch of lads, and fair play to them. They bounced back from what was a disappointing start to the month.
Yeah. And Stan, if you can bring us up to date with Pride.
Well, I mean, you know, they're a work in progress, so to speak, you know, because it seems each season they get better and better and better and stronger and stronger, and you know they're coming along quite nicely, you know. So I think that if they stick at what they're doing, and obviously they will get better, then I think that will be another success story like the Romans have been. You know, I mean, the thing that struck me with all this, with them both teams. The success they have, it's a continuous thing, isn't it? It's always on the up. It never seems to be any big crisis or whatever. It's just a continuous. It's an amazing story, really. But no, I think they'll be okay, and and good luck to them. And then you're just going from strength to strength.
Yeah, it's been a great success story. We're going to take a little break there and have a maritime break.
We are Maritime Radio.
Maritime Radio.
With the change of seasons, it's always good to have a hearty cuppa. Whether at home, work or out and about, a cup of Drury's finest tea or coffee will bring you that warm, comforting feeling. Drury's a family-run business that's been expertly blending specialist tea and coffee since 1936. Local residents that use Drury tea and coffee's click and collect service from their Royal Arsenal premises automatically qualify for a discount. What's not to love about a heartwarming brew from Drury Tea and Coffee? Find out more at shopdrury.com.
You could travel the world in search of the finest flavours, or you could look closer to home. At Panas Gurkha Restaurants, we're dedicated to delivering delectable dishes from both Nepal and India. Winner of the Asian Curry Awards Nepalese Restaurant of the Year 2024, why not dine in with us? Or enjoy a top-notch takeaway with our menu classics, or maybe try some of our exhilarating new dishes. Along with our exceptional menu, we pride ourselves on supporting the local community through charitable efforts. Panas Gurkha Restaurants. Come and see us in Blackheath, Hither Green and Falconwood, and online at thepanas.co.uk.
Every Sunday at 3 p.m, join me, Ben Hopkinson, for the weekly rundown. We'll be discussing 3 specific stories from this week, play the top 3 songs, and do our Maritime # minute. That's Sundays at 3 p.m. with myself, Ben Hopkinson, only on Maritime Radio.
Your favourite music and everything local.
This is Maritime Radio.
Our Millwall Community Trust Line Centre has a 4G football pitch where 9 versus 9 can play, a sports hall, classrooms and a cafe. To access these state-of-the-art facilities in a safe and positive environment, get in touch on 0207 740 0503.
Thanks, Bethany. I'm George Lampey, and with me I have the fantastic panel. Who writes this rubbish? Who writes? Fantastic panel of Ted Robinson, Patricia Maslin and Stan Godwin. Now, we're going to go to our first guest, and I'm truly delighted to welcome our special guest this evening. He's played for Millwall from the 28-29 season to 2016-17 season. He is number 2 in the Millwall goalkeeping appearance charts, representing the Republic of Ireland. He earned 24 caps and become the most capped player for the Republic of Ireland at Millwall. Now he's gone from making saves to waves as the CEO of Pathfinder Coaching Development. He's about to share his insight into his coming book, Being the One. Let's give a warm welcome to the brilliant David Forde from Galloway West Side. Hello, David.
Good evening, lads. How are you?
They're all well, thank you.
All right, Dave.
I'm loving your pronunciation of Galloway.
I didn't think you noticed that.
We talk a bit different down here, don't we? You have to excuse me there, Dave, won't you?
No worries.
Dave, look, before I pass you over to the panel, I've got to say that we were going to have your old mate Dean Wilson in the studio this evening. Mm-hmm. How come he has all these pictures of you all over his funeral director's office?
It's probably because he's buried me a few times. Yeah, I turned around to Dean one day and I said, was having a bit of a tough time down at the Den, and I said, you know what then, or Dean, I said, if all else fails here at Millwall and playing in goals, I said, I'd make a great undertaker. He says, why is that? I said, because I'm great at burying myself, so I don't believe that burying others. So, yeah, myself and Dean go back a long way. Yeah, and
he's a lovely man. Yes.
He's a great fan for Millwall and a huge fan of Millwall.
David, Stan here, mate. 2 playoff finals and an FA Cup semi-final, all at Wembley with Millwall. I think I know, but which one was your favourite?
Well, it wasn't the Scunthorpe game, and it wasn't getting beat by Wigan in the semi-final, and yeah, it was definitely the one at Swindon, beating them 1-0 and getting promoted. That was some experience. That was an absolute peak experience, and probably the pinnacle and the peak in my career at Millwall. Yeah, most definitely.
And you saved the chairman from getting arrested at the time because he lit up the cigar in the changing room, if I remember right.
That's right. John comes down into the change room, absolutely delighted himself, pulls out a massive Cuban. It was bigger than my arm. And I turned around to him and says, John, you wouldn't have a spare one of them by any chance, would you? He pulls out another one. And the two of us were about to spark one up, and the security guards came running. They were like, you can't be lighting that in here. We're just after spending 600 million on this stadium and you'll burn it down. And John just looked at him, sparked it up and said, I'll build a new one.
Brilliant.
Hello Dave, it's Pat here.
Hiya Pat.
Hi. Getting to play for Ireland when Shay Gibbon was actually the number one keeper, it must have been a bit tough. Now we want to know how you managed it. Was it a bribe? Was it blackmail? Tell us.
It was all of the above. Well, what actually happened was I got into the squad and Shay was number one. I just got in in 2011, and I got into the squad, the final squad. I was the third choice keeper at the 2012 Euros. Mm-hmm. And Shay was coming to the end. Just after that tournament, Shay retired, and it looked like Kieran Westwood was the kind of sealed on number one to come in and play. I was looking like number two. My form was really good. The 2011 season, first season back in the Championship at Millwall, I kept 21 clean sheets in the Championship, which was a phenomenal return. And looking at it now, most teams get promoted to the Premier League with 16, 15, 16 clean sheets. So that was a great return for myself, and it got me into the Irish team. And yeah, just I think my consistency. My performances were very consistent and good at the time. And Trapattoni turned around one day and he said, "Right, David Forde's my number one goalie for Ireland," which that's a phenomenal statement. Yeah, and the funny thing is, that's at 32, 33 years of age, and I go on to make 20 plus caps, and I don't think there's too many people in the world that after their 30s that make 20 plus caps internationally, maybe one or two. So that made it all the more special as well.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah. Hello, Dave, it's Ted here.
Hi, Ted.
All right, mate. Looking back over 8 or 9 years at Millwall, how would you sum up, and be very careful, of course we're all massive Millwall fans, so be careful how you answer this. How would you sum up your experience as a Millwall player?
How would I sum up my experience?
You know how friendly we are.
Yes, exactly. How would I sum it up? Yeah. Blood, sweat, tears and fears.
I noticed you started with blood.
There was plenty of that. Yeah. So it was as I said, blood, sweat, tears and fears, and some amazing times, and great. It was an amazing challenge, because I came to the club at 28. Not many first team games under my belt in the UK, so it was a major challenge for me to come in as a number one and establish myself, which I did, and then like that as well to go on and play. In my first 3 seasons, I played 153 games consistently. Then lost the form, and then to come back into it, get Player of the Year, to get to Wembley 3 times, considering. New Wembley was relatively new, so they were amazing experiences, and we had some amazing times. And it's the fondest time in my career that was at Millwall, and Millwall felt at home to me. It was my home, and I gave it absolutely everything. I didn't leave anything behind, and I couldn't give it any more.
Yeah, a young, inexperienced goalkeeper come up to you, Dave, and said, Millwall have asked me if they, would I go there? What would you say to them?
Absolutely. I believe if you can play at Millwall, you can actually play anywhere.
Right answer, Dave. Well done.
Exactly. You play at Millwall, everywhere else is just a breeze. Yeah, I remember going to certain clubs after I'd left Millwall, and even before Millwall, and actually thinking, players, you find this actually hard playing here.
Hello, Dave Paggin. We tend to ask players, who did you room with on away games, and was it a pleasant experience?
I actually roomed on my own, so it was very pleasant.
Is there a reason?
Was you antisocial, Dave, or something like that?
Yeah, antisocial, and to get into the zone. I just like my own space. I used to get up in the morning, meditate, and I just needed my own space and my own time. And I was studying as well and different things like that. Like so, I just
What you really mean, Dave, is there wasn't much
nice
choice.
To get away. What's that?
What you really mean is there wasn't much choice, was there? With who the players were you around? You didn't want any of them.
No, you said it, but don't tell anyone.
Dave, it's always a pleasure having you on. Now, as always, it's great to speak with you, but before you leave us, could you give us a taster of what we can expect from your new book, Being the One? And also, is it available now?
Yes, Being the One has been a story. It's just about to be released. First, it's coming out on ebook, and that should be there in the next few days. And then in the next week to 2 weeks, it should be on paperback, then with hard copy on the way. So it's a story of my life from where I grew up, how it all began, how I fell in with love, fell in love with football, how I fell out of love with football, how I fell in love with football, and just through my whole career, just through my whole journey, and the pressures, the highs, the lows, the being the one is a statement that, being the one for club and country, being the one to, break habits, being the ones to, be in the best mindset. And it's been a great story for myself, and it's been very catalytic and cathartic for myself to do that project. So it's been a great, as I said, it's been a great experience, and it's a good read. It's a great read, actually, and it gives a deeper insight into the mindset and the psychology and the depth of where I came from and what inspired me and motivated me to have the career I did within football, and the challenges that I faced in that as well, mentally and emotionally.
So is it available now, and where could we get a copy?
It will be available in the next couple of days on Amazon ebooks. The ebook will be out first, and then it will be in the next 2 weeks. It will be up on Amazon as well, also the paperback.
And before I let you go, you still get down to Den, because, well, I know a little while ago I was stuck in the same queue in the club shop with you, so I know you make appearances every now and again.
Yeah, I duck down every now and again. My son still loves going to the Den, so I bring a couple of his mates or whatever, and we get down into the Cold Blow Lane end. I'm there next weekend, so I'm looking forward. I got a friend coming over from Ireland, and he's got a colleague coming from New Zealand. He's big into the Maori culture, and he wants to come and experience a different type of culture. And I said, right,
that'd be an experience, that will. One he won't forget.
Exactly, we'll show him a few different types of warriors down in the Den. Yeah, so.
You might have to explain the language to him before he gets there, Dave, I
think. There's a few nice terms of endearment in there, yeah.
Will they be bringing you on the pitch or anything like that, Dave?
No, my pitch days are over. I just...
We didn't expect you to play in goal, Dave. We were just giving you a clap out on the pitch. That's all.
Hang on a second there. There's still one good dive left of me.
Well, it's been a pleasure, as it always is, Dave, and we wish you and the family all the very best, mate.
Lovely, lads, and thanks for having me on. And Pat, great to see you, and thanks for everything, guys.
Cheers, David.
Cheers, Dave.
Thanks, mate.
Have a great evening.
We're going to go to an ad now from Maritime.
This
is Maritime Radio.
Fashion blends with tradition at theasianfashionstore.co.uk, your online outlet for a wide range of authentic Asian clothing and accessories. That's elegant, trendy and modest styles, whether it's for designer labels or everyday wear, work and celebratory occasions too. You'll find them all and so much more at theasianfashionstore.co.uk. Read reviews and features, be inspired and order online for convenient home delivery. theasianfashionstore.co.uk.
The new Shrewsbury House Community Garden Cafe for breakfast from 9, light lunches, afternoon cakes, tea cakes and crumpets for tea. Look out for our Wednesday specials. Shrewsbury House Community Garden Cafe, the place to make new friends and enjoy lovely homemade food.
You could travel the world in search of the finest flavours, or you could look closer to home. At Panas Gurkha Restaurants, we're dedicated to delivering delectable dishes from both Nepal and India. Winner of the Asian Curry Awards Nepalese Restaurant of the Year 2024, why not dine in with us? Or enjoy a top-notch takeaway with our menu classics, or maybe try some of our exhilarating new dishes. Along with our exceptional menu, we pride ourselves on supporting the local community through charitable efforts. Panas Gurkha Restaurants. Come and see us in Blackheath, Hither Green and Falconwood, and online at thepanas.co.uk.
This is Maritime Radio.
The Millwall Community Trust is located at the Lions Centre, Ballina Road, London SE16. Each year it delivers a wide range of football and sports development programmes to thousands of young people, from toddler soccer to professional pathway, across different ages, genders and abilities. Check out the Millwall Community Trust website.
Thanks, Bethany. I'm George Lampey, and with me I have the fantastic... I can't keep saying that. I have a rather rough-looking panel, except for Pat, who looks very...
Head out the door when I leave here.
Ted Robinson, Patricia Maslin and Stan Godwin. You have heard a little bit about the Community Trust and some of the things they do. They make a fantastic difference to the community they serve. And talking to the communities, here is the Millwall Community Trust CEO, Sean Daly, talking with Eamon Barclay about the recent Millwall Community Day.
I'm delighted to be with Sean Daly, who joined the Millwall Community Trust in March 2018 after spending 18 years as the head of football and sports development at Charlton Athletic Community Trust. Millwall Community Day, which celebrates the work of the Trust, his partners and community heroes, has grown and grown since introduced. How did it come to be, and is it a unique event within the English Football League, Sean?
About 4 years ago, I spoke to Steve Kavanagh and said that, I think it's important we celebrate the Community Trust and the work it does in the local area. And some clubs have been doing it. They dedicate to the community. Grew it from them, really. I just sort of said, look, I want to get all the participants involved. I want to get all our partners, but I want to celebrate the success that some of these people have been the journey on. Whether it's our walking football, whether it's an employment programme, whether it's a military, our kicks programme, the Girls Academy. And I wanted them to sort of celebrate their journey within the club and the Community Trust. So what I have noticed, though, in the last couple of years, lots and lots of clubs are now recognising their Community Trusts and their foundations and the work they do and dedicating a match to them. And it's only going to get bigger for us. This one we did here was bigger than it was before. 800 people there as participants. The only thing that sort of didn't help us really was the early kick-off, because we didn't have a long time to celebrate it. So I wanted to celebrate the partnership work we're doing as well, supporting people. There's lots of people that come in and help us engage with those people, whether it's the police, whether it's the fire brigade, whether it's an employment programme, whether it's a school.
That's wonderful. And can you just give us a flavour of what took place that day?
It sort of took over two sort of areas, really. Our Lions Centre, the indoor site, and then the outside. Now, the indoor kicked off at 9 o'clock. So we had a walking football, we had a military vets game, we had a pan disability game, we had a kicks game in there as well. So lots of our participants playing in a tournament. We also had the family fun zone, drop-in employment programme as well. And then when we went out to the car park by the fan zone, We had lots of stalls of some of our partners, good people like an education programme. We had the JCP over there. We had a couple of local schools. We had police over there. We had the fire brigade over there. So all the partners we work with, just having a stall and sort of engaging with our fans. Just before kick-off, we gave out a couple of awards to some of our partners to celebrate the work they've been doing with us. So we this year, and every year we sort of like give it to a local partner. This time we wanted to acknowledge our councils. Without our council, we wouldn't be able to do the work we do within it. So we presented an award to Lewisham Council and we presented an award to Suffolk Council, the two boroughs we work in. Then we had the mascots on the pitch, who were community children. We had a Guard of Honour, which was our Girls' Academy, and all of that just before the game. At half-time, all our participants walked around the pitch to be acknowledged by the fans. And then we had a penalty shootout on the pitch for Maguava. Now, they came off the shirt and let the Community Trust go on it, who's the sponsor. So we did a penalty shootout for 3 local children. Those 3 children have been invited back for the Portsmouth game, but to have the Maguava box. So
wonderful.
And they've been brilliant to us, absolutely brilliant. It was just a great day.
How do you measure success of Community Day?
I measure success by people talking about it. The one that I love is when, I didn't know you did that. I didn't know our club's got an employment programme. I didn't know our club's got a LGBT football team. I didn't know our club's got a girls' academy. That's how I measure success.
Yeah.
You know, that people are like going, oh, it's unbelievable what our club does. You know, my thing has always been when I came to this club was I wanted us to be known for something really good. And I always say to my staff, we've got to be the best we can. The best community scheme in the country, brilliant. If we're the best community scheme in, Lewisham and Southwark, that'll do for me. And I want people to start talking about Millwall as the work we do in the Community Trust. And, unfortunately, what's happened around Crystal Palace and lots of things that have come up there, all the social media has been around, but they do some great work in the community, Millwall. And that's what I really want people to start talking about. But that's how I measure success. People getting awareness of us and being proud of the work the club does in the area.
Well, thanks, Sean. I'm sure our listeners will find that ever so interesting, despite the fact that you left Charlton to come to Millwall.
We're forgiving that all day long. He's done a marvellous job at Millwall, that man, and in fact, so good he should be running the football club. But there you go, that's another story. Before we go on, I just want to bring up to the panel, because yesterday, 20 years ago, we were at Old Trafford, weren't we?
21 years.
21 years? Let's not be finicky, Pat.
You know he can't count.
So it was our semi-final against whom?
Sunderland.
Yes, indeed. And of course it was a great win. We were all there. So Stan, shall we start with you? What was your memories of that marvellous day for Millwall and us? More us supporters, really, because we know what the result was. But for you as an individual on the day.
Well, it's hard to explain, really. I mean, we got there, and before we even get out the coach, the driver said, look, he said, we've had the word from the police. He said that win or lose, whatever, after the game, you've got to get back here as soon as you can, because they want to get all the coaches away and all that sort of thing. Which you thought, okay, that's fine. And I was up there with my cousin. Anyway, we get into the game, and we're there, and then we're watching the game, and then all of a sudden we get to half time, and I thought, well, this is all right, and then when the second half come, I'm sitting here and I'm standing there, and I think, so this seems to be going on. After a while, I looked at the clock, and I thought to myself on the wall, and I think to myself, we've been playing more than 10 minutes. Right, and I said to my cousin, I said, we've been playing more than 10 minutes. He looks at me, he says, you prat, he said, it's a clock, he said, that count downwards. Right, and I said, what? And he said, yeah, that's what it was, it had gone that quick, right, because when the whistle went, I mean, it was ecstasy, wasn't it? I mean, you just couldn't. And then we then come back, and it was just it was a day that you could never forget. And in many ways now, when you look back at it now, that was our final, but... It
was indeed.
But no, I mean, it's a day that'll always... I mean, there's been some good days with Millwall, and that one is up there with the best of them. And it was brilliant.
Pat, your thoughts on the day as a fan?
My thoughts are much the same as everyone. I mean, it was like probably in the top 3 games since I've been going, but my abiding memory of that day, and it's a very personal memory, after we won, they put on a reggae version of Let 'Em Come, and it was on constant. And I got on my seat because I was so excited, not about actually getting to the FA Cup final, but knowing we was in Europe. And I jumped and jumped so hard that I wet myself on that seat. I'm sorry, but that is my abiding memory of that game.
Thank Christ I was in another coach.
I was just like...
So Stan can't read a clock. Pat does something, yeah.
Don't wait till you come to me.
I was just like elated. I just couldn't believe it. And of course, then you had to start thinking, am I going to get a ticket to go to Europe? But yeah, that was my abiding memory. We're in Europe.
I would have thought
something Charlton's never done.
I would have thought maybe it was the thing, where is the nearest toilet?
I didn't care about that. I wasn't going to leave that ground.
And did you stay quite late into the ground after the whistle?
Of course, yeah. I mean, everyone did, didn't we? Yeah. I mean, a fantastic day.
Yes, it was indeed. And Ted, your day, how did you...
I'm not sure how I followed that. I was just thinking to myself, I wonder what the coach tried before. But no, listen, people of our age, the FA Cup was the be-all and end-all of it, and so it was a dream of mine, a dream of my dear old dad's, who, unfortunately wasn't around to see it, but... sorry, he wasn't at the game, but he see it from home, but... I know what Pat says about the top 3 games, but I think for an actual result, that is my greatest result for Millwall ever. To see that we actually got to the FA Cup final. I didn't quite go as far as wetting myself. And the funny thing is, I must have been looking at another clock to stand, because that second half, I swear blind, the clock I was looking at never moved. And I thought that if the referee's running it by that clock, we're going to be going on till doomsday before this match ends. But it was such a relief at the end that we'd actually done it. I'll go nearly as close as Pat. I didn't wet myself, but I did wet my eyes. I had a tear in my eye. I had a tear in my eye at the end of jumping around with a few friends of mine that you'd have thought we'd have just, Christmas had come early and we got everything we wanted, because it'd been such a long time in the coming, and for such a little club like ours to achieve that on that day. As I say, that was the greatest result ever. I mean, going to the old Wembley was fantastic, even though it was a pony cup.
It was,
but seeing Millwall at the old Wembley, and that was a height, because it was the old Wembley. You wanted to see them there. Now to think we're actually going in to the FA Cup final, that can't be Millwall, and against Man United of all people. But like I say, it turned out that was our cup final. We without that, getting there was what it was all about. It wasn't about anything else. And next time we achieve that, I'm going to make sure that Pat goes with a loo roll, so she's catered for,
or a supplying that.
Would you put that game above the whole game when we went to the Premiership? Or the old Division 1, I should say.
I always separate the two. The Cup's one thing, and it was always a dream for the FA Cup, because it was such a big day when I was a kid. The league is your bread and butter week in, week out, but I know what you mean. It's there, it's level. See Mill win the top division's another thing that you dream of, and you never ever thought we would get there. So yeah, I was quite elated. But I can tell you the quick story, if you want, George, about the worst I've been at any game was actually at Walsall when we got to the whatever it was.
Oh, I know, yes, yeah, that's right.
Because I think...
windscreen.
Yeah, auto windscreen, that's it. Because I just wanted to see Millwall at the old Wembley. I loved that stadium. It was a dream of mine. And of course, we was running out of time. I just think it would coincide that it got knocked down the following the season or whatever it was. I don't know if it was anything to do with us being there. But anyway, at the end of that game at Walsall, when we was through, I can honestly say I had a blackout and I don't know where I was, and then the next minute I realise I'm in the centre circle jumping up and down with Stuart Nethercott and Bobby Bowery, and I've never got on a pitch before or anything like that, but there I was on the centre circle carrying Stuart Nethercott around, and it's just, we all have our own sort of things that we want to achieve, want to see Millwall do, which is more or less all the same, but the FA Cup just meant everything to me, and going to Wembley, the old Wembley, was just as big to me. So them two sort of games where we got there, going there in the playoffs is wonderful, is it? But there's such pressure with the playoffs because you want to get to that next season in another division. I think they're the most stressful games you ever watch. Like, is the playoff ones. But like we was talking to David there, 3 Wembley trips on the spin and that. My daughters, I think to myself, I waited 50 odd years to get anywhere near Wembley. You've gone 3 times.
Can I just add to that? Because one of the things, although the cup final wasn't at Wembley, admittedly, but the times we've been, and when I went to Wembley the first time in that final that you're talking about, the one guy I thought about was my uncle, right, my dad's eldest brother, because he was a Millwall supporter from a boy. And he never got to see Millwall play at Wembley, because up until then, it was 1945 and he was in the army, so he might have been abroad, so he may not have even seen that game, right? And yet we get there, and I thought of him that day and sitting, because it's ironical, because we've been there a few occasions, and my grandson, or 2 of them, have been there. They've been to Wembley more times to see Millwall. In such a short, right, and he did, and he never got there. And I always thought of that, and. It's
sort of windscreen when I was fortunate enough to go with my dear old dad and me father-in-law, who was like my best mate, and my best mate who passed away sadly, and he went dressed as a lion with the kids. It was an unbelievable day, and it was a rubbish cup. But nobody could take that day away. And that's what annoys me when you get these pundits on, as if the likes of your Man Uniteds and your Man Cities and always going to every cup final. I always remember the cup final at the Millennium. At the end of the game, there was only Millwall fans in there. Man United had won the trophy, but we weren't going anywhere.
Didn't even wait for him to get the cup, did they?
And I thought that it must be so sad to be a fan that wins things year in, year out. You know what I mean? But
I wish they could have it now, didn't they? But anyway.
But it's them days. You're what being a fan is all about.
And I remember leaving the Millennium and we had lost. And as you say, there was nobody at the Man United end. And as we came out, I could see this long vision of all the people, and they were all singing and cheering, and we had lost, and we were the only people leaving the stadium. And I thought, what a crazy club this is!
Exactly. Yeah, we know how to party. That's right.
We thought we'd share that with you. That was our own personal thoughts of a special day.
She's sitting next to me, by the way, people that are listening. I hope she don't get too excited.
and even at Wembley, and especially the new Wembley, right, the greatest goal ever, and it's never been beaten, was scored there. And we all know what that goal was. No one has come anywhere near beat. We ended up losing, but that goal...
And you can tell all the Maritime listeners who don't know a lot about Millwall, you could tell them who scored that goal.
Gary Alexander. I mean, it's the greatest goal ever at Wembley.
And if you haven't seen it, everybody, look it up. It is some
on
goal.
YouTube.
And we are biased, but it is a goal. Lastly, we're going to look at the forthcoming fixtures to our next monthly show. And we're going to start with Sheffield United on Tuesday night. So... Pat, I'm going to start with you because you actually are going to go to Sheffield this Tuesday.
I'm going to Sheffield. I'm not expecting a good result, obviously, because they're top of the division at the moment. I'm actually only going because we've got the American arm of the Millwall Supporters Club over at the moment, and we're going up with some Americans to see the game. I have warned them. It could be a big score on their part. But, so we're going up to watch that. We don't expect to get a result up there because they're a good side. Although I think they're a bit scared of Jake Cooper. He tends to score against them quite regularly. I can't say too much about it, but for my American boys, I'll see you next Tuesday.
And what do you think the score will be?
What do I think? I think 1-1. No way would I predict that Millwall will lose.
Even when you think they might do?
Even when it's in my head, it's not in my heart.
And Stan, what are your thoughts on Tuesday night's game? And I think they're second. I think Pat might have been wrong.
I think we're going to surprise people there because I think they slipped up a day, didn't they? Sheffield United. I'm not sure.
Yeah, they lost 1-0.
Yeah, right. So I think we're going to get at least a draw there. At least a draw. right? But we've got to be full at it. I mean, there's no, you can't go up there and just go through the motions, and you know. But no, I think that's what we get a draw.
Okay, Teddy, you want to add your?
Well, I think there's two things. Stan's pointed one out. Sheffield United, I don't think it's really helped us losing today, because obviously it's put a bit of pressure back on them. But then the pressure plays into our hands, a bit like Leeds struggled today at Luton. You know, these three sides, Luton, Leeds, Sheffield United and Burnley, there's a massive prize at the end of it for them, and they're all getting a bit jittery. And we tend to do not too bad at Sheffield United, so I'm quietly confident that we could upset them, if I'm honest. And I think, you know, if we do, it might just back up our playoff hopes. We could find ourselves coming against Middlesbrough next week, and we're only 3 points out of the thing, which Middlesbrough are one of them sides. So it's still all to play for. Tough arse though, because Sheffield United have got a good squad. They've got that. Brereton, is it? I nearly swore in. I know I'm live on radio, but us Millwall fans do have to bite our tongue every now and again. But that Brereton who played for Blackburn and done us the other year, and he always seems to have a good game against us. They got Kiefer Moore, who's been on the bench recently. Sheffield United, a good side, good squad. They're going to have to rally round themselves after the day, but you know, I'm quietly confident we can go up there and give them a game, definitely.
And little score prediction.
I actually think we're going to nick it either 1-0. I'll go 2-1. I think we're going to nick it 2-1.
2-1 to the Lions, eh? There's a lot of silly people about. Right. And then we go on.
I'm going to the hospital afterwards, get myself checked out.
And then we go on to next Saturday, and we're at home once again. After today, we're at home to Middlesbrough. And Stan, I'm going to start with you there.
That will be a hard game. Because, and the reason I say that is because, in my opinion, they have got one of the top managers in that division, right? No question about that, whatever, right? And, you know, they done well last season but faded, right? And then they started off this season, everybody thought they were going to be up the top, and they was struggling and whatever. But the chairman, their chairman, in all fairness to him, he's not one of these lunatic chairmen that go around sacking people every 5 minutes. He stuck by the manager, and it's now paying off for them, right? And they are. And if we get, I mean, I think we can beat them on the day. You know, I mean, it's not. They ain't just got to turn up, but it's going to be a hard game. There's absolutely no doubt about that. And as I say, they got one of the best managers in the division, in my view.
Pat, then we go on to Blackburn.
They lost about 8 on the trot, haven't they? I don't know how they got on today.
They lost.
Again.
Yes.
So they're on a bad run. I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, they lost 2-0.
Really bad run.
Yeah, they haven't won a game since the new manager's been in.
Yeah, if you just want a prediction, I know it's away, but I think we done them last time we went up there. I'm sure I was there. I think we'll win that 2-1.
Mm-hmm. Teddy, and then we go on to Norwich on, that must be Bank Holiday Monday, mustn't it?
Yeah.
A quick shout out for the Middlesbrough game, and best of luck to my mate's grandson, Jude, who's the mascot on the day.
Well done.
Yeah.
Good.
So I've told him if we're struggling, he's got to go on and score a goal. So we'll see what happens here. But Norwich, again, funny side, they lost today, Norwich, which surprised me. They lost 2-1 at Plymouth because they needed points, and they're sort of trying to get there. But like any game, George, at home, we're capable of beating anyone at home, especially sides that are going well. We tend to turn up in them games, so I'm quietly confident we can win that.
Yeah. Then we got our last home game against Swansea, followed by our last home game against Burnley, and
other way round, George. Swansea at home, Burnley away.
Yeah, that's it. That way round. I did say our last home game, mate, didn't I? And by then, maybe when we play Burnley, they may well be champions, mightn't they? So I just want to say to everybody, if you want to watch the Lions, tickets are available for the Millwall website or in person from the Den ticket office. Check the website for complete details. The Den is a short walk from South Bermondsey Station and a 4-minute changeover from London Bridge. Lastly, we return to Maritime on the 3rd of May with our monthly Millwall Views and News show. Thanks to our panellists, Pat, Ted and Stan, and to our producer, Steve Bowman here, who sat very quietly and done all the work for us.
And is now a Millwall fan,
Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.
is Maritime Radio.
Maritime Radio.
Has your business lost at least